The conversation that shifted a nation. It happened in a single afternoon, one exchange behind closed doors that would ripple outward until it reached every corner of the country. No cameras, no transcripts, just two people in a quiet room, speaking words that would alter the course of presidency and the direction of national policy. To understand why this conversation mattered, we have to look at how rare such moments truly are. The White House is full of meetings, briefings, and negotiations, but only a handful contain the spark that changes everything. These moments don't announce themselves. They arrive quietly, disguised as routine discussions until something unexpected emerges, an idea, a warning, a truth too powerful to ignore. The day began with a sense of mounting pressure. A pivotal decision loomed, one that had divided advisors, unsettled allies, and drawn intense scrutiny from the public. Reports flowed in from agencies across the government, each highlighting risks, projections, and potential fallout. Yet none offered a clear answer. The administration stood at a crossroads, and the weight of the choice pressed heavily on the president's shoulders. In the middle of this uncertainty, a senior advisor requested a private meeting. Their tone carried urgency, not panic, and that distinction was enough to catch the president's attention. They stepped into a small room adjacent to the Oval Office, a room often used for quiet reflection, away from the noise of competing voices. The conversation began with familiar points, data summaries, strategic concerns, the latest international reaction. But then the advisor set the papers aside and spoke from a place rarely reached in political discourse. They described what the country was not seeing, the human consequences hidden beneath the projections, the subtle shifts in public mood, the long-term implications that could either strengthen the nation or fracture it further. As they spoke, the president listened with growing focus. The arguments were not rehearsed. They weren't part of any prepared plan. They came from experience, from observation, from a perspective shaped by years of watching how decisions echo through communities far from the Capitol. Then came the moment that changed everything. A single point delivered with quiet certainty that reframed the entire dilemma. It wasn't dramatic, but it cut through layers of complexity with the clarity of someone who understood the deeper stakes. For the first time that day, the path forward began to shift, away from the tangled debate and toward a vision neither had fully considered until this conversation laid it bare. The air in the small room grew dense as the full implications of the advisor's words settled between them. The president, now fully aware of the missing pieces that had shaped earlier debates, felt a shift inside, a realization that the administration had been steering toward a decision built on incomplete foundations. What had seemed like a structured, data-driven path now revealed cracks that could no longer be ignored. The advisor continued carefully, aware that every sentence carried potential to redirect national policy. They explained how the competing plans, presented in the larger meetings as equal strategic options, did not, in fact, reflect equal risks. One plan demanded immediate action with unpredictable long-term consequences. The other offered stability but risked appearing indecisive. Yet the advisor pointed out a critical truth. Both approaches failed to address the deeper issue gripping the country, an erosion of trust that no policy alone could mend. The conversation intensified as the president pressed further. Why hadn't the cabinet raised these concerns? Why had the crucial hesitation of external partners remained unspoken? Why had the emotional undercurrents of the nation been treated as footnotes instead of essential factors in the decision-making process? Each question chipped away at the careful structure the team had built, exposing the human vulnerabilities beneath it. The advisor admitted that part of the problem was fear. Fear of complicating an already fragile debate. Fear of contradicting early recommendations. Fear of the political backlash that might follow if the administration appeared uncertain. But the president countered with a sharper insight. Withholding critical perspective wasn't protecting the administration. It was weakening it. The turning point came when the advisor revealed a final, deeply personal observation. In listening to communities across the country, they had sensed something that reports could not quantify. Exhaustion. People were tired of shifting directives, shifting narratives, shifting expectations. They needed a decision that offered not just strategy, but stability, something rooted in a vision rather than reaction. The president felt the significance of that revelation in a way data had never managed to convey. The earlier plan seemed suddenly inadequate, each lacking the grounding required to carry a nation forward. The conversation had peeled back layers of political framing until only the core truth remained. The administration needed to step outside the boundaries of the established debate. Yet this clarity brought its own conflict. Choosing a new path would invite criticism from allies and opponents alike. It would disrupt months of planning. It would challenge the cabinet's assumptions and force the administration to recalibrate its approach under intense public scrutiny. The president understood that such a pivot would be risky, potentially defining, potentially destabilizing. But the alternative was worse, proceeding with a plan that no longer reflected the reality they now understood. The advisor watched the president grapple with the choice, recognizing the weight of the moment. This was not merely a change in strategy. It was a test of leadership forged in the quiet space between public expectation and personal conviction. And then, almost imperceptibly, the president's posture changed. A decision was forming, not the one debated in the cabinet room, not the one projected by analysts, but one shaped by this single, transformative conversation. The conflict had reached its peak, and the nation stood on the edge of a path reshaped by insight no briefing could have provided. The president rose from their chair, the weight of the moment settling into a calm certainty. The conversation had revealed more than hidden information. It had exposed the core of the dilemma. The nation did not need another calculated compromise. It needed clarity, direction, and a decision rooted in conviction rather than caution. And in that quiet room, away from the noise of political strategy, the president finally saw the path forward. When the cabinet reconvened, the shift in the president's demeanor was unmistakable. Advisors prepared for another round of familiar arguments, expecting the debate to follow the same fragmented patterns as before. But the president spoke before anyone else could begin, outlining a new course that diverged sharply from every option previously considered. It was neither the aggressive plan pushed by some nor the cautious approach favored by others. It was something different, bolder in principle, steadier in purpose, and grounded in the understanding that had emerged from a private conversation. The room reacted with visible shock. Some advisors welcomed the clarity, relieved that the indecision of the past days had finally broken. Others stiffened, realizing that their influence over the decision had diminished. The president explained the reasoning with a transparency that left little room for misinterpretation. The earlier plans had been shaped by incomplete data, uneven communication, and a fundamental misreading of the nation's emotional landscape. This new direction, though risky, aligned with the responsibility of leadership in a moment that demanded unity. As the discussion unfolded, resistance began to soften. Even those skeptical of the shift recognized that the president's conviction carried a weight the earlier proposals had lacked. The private conversation had distilled the crisis into its essential truth, and now that truth was steering the administration toward a course that felt both necessary and inevitable. The climax of the day came when the president concluded with a single, decisive statement. Leadership is not about choosing the path with the fewest critics, but the path with the greatest purpose. The words echoed to the cabinet room, piercing the last remnants of doubt. A decision had been made, and it would redefine the administration from that moment forward. In the hours that followed, teams mobilized to implement the new strategy. Agencies were briefed, partners contacted, and preparations set into motion. The decision spread across the West Wing like a new current, steady, resolute, unmistakably different from the wavering uncertainty of the days before. Staff felt the shift immediately, sensing that something fundamental had changed. Late that night, the president returned to the quiet room where the conversation had taken place. The space felt different now, lighter, almost still. A single exchange had reshaped national policy, illuminated blind spots within the administration, and restored clarity at a moment when clarity seemed impossible. Some decisions are born in public, others in pressure-filled meetings. But a rare few emerge from quiet reflection, guided by a voice willing to speak the truth no one else had dared to say. This was one of those decisions, and its echoes would be felt for years. Subscribe to join the journey.